Hey guys, subscribe for daily content, and if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I'm going to be sharing with you guys my top 5 most carried knives over the last, it's been like a month and a half or so. I review a lot of stuff, so my rotation changes constantly. I'm always trying to carry cool new stuff, but sometimes I gravitate towards things that I just really want to carry. So I wanted to update you guys again on what I've been carrying. Some of this stuff is available right now and some of it isn't, but will be available soon. In any case, I will provide links on everything right down in the description so you guys can check it out. It really does help my channel when you use those links, but that's entirely up to you. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me. Let's get started here. Admittedly, my pockets have been dominated by 4 knives. This first one here has not had any real pocket time yet, but technically it is the 5th because I just got it, and that's the XL Django. Oh my gosh, this is such a satisfying knife. I love the Django profile. A lot of you guys are probably familiar with it, but if you've ever looked at it and said, I like it, I just wish it was bigger, it's bigger now. And I am happy to report that it is everything that we love about Kunwu, just in a larger package. It is so cool. We have the textured titanium. We have the Damascus pivot collar. We have a better feeling crossbar lock than some of the smaller ones, right? The Omega springs on this guy feel a little bit more high tension. You don't have to get the satin DLC, but this is the coolest look in my opinion, like either the full DLC or the reverse tux where you have the black blade and the titanium frame. This is a great option if you're looking to carry a larger ambidextrous knife and you don't want the overly thick, crazy blades, because this guy's got really, really great cutting geometry. This will continue to make it into my pocket. I've only had it for a couple of days. You guys haven't even seen me unbox it yet. I have an unboxing recorded and it is scheduled for down the road, which makes my schedule really confusing to some people, but you will eventually see the unboxing and my initial reaction to it. It's great. And honestly, this feels so much more satisfying to deploy than the smaller one because of the position of the hole and just the overall size of the knife. Very impressive, typical Kunwu. The price I think is fair. It's just an incredibly impressive product that is in an XL size now. Moving on here to the first knife that's been, well, number 4, that has legitimately been dominating my pocket. These were sent to me just maybe 3 weeks ago, I think is when I got the box, but I think they just dropped yesterday or the day before. This is the Budget Militop. Now, not everybody's going to love the red and blue. I am a KU fan, so this was awesome, and this is the one that I had to throw in my pocket because number 1, I love the Militop. It's arguably one of Kaiser's best knives, right? But number 2, it's the color. Come on, it's the colors here. So I thought that was really cool. But I mean, what an obvious thing, right? Take one of your best designs and make it a budget knife. I think you can get this for $70, and I'm gonna tell you guys right now, this is 100% worth buying. Like, the value on it is great. The design is great. The different options that you can get, it's all so great. I think this translates so well as a budget knife, and you can even get a mini one now. They made a mini one if you want to pick up the smaller one. These guys come in at about $70, and it makes for an excellent tool. It's so easy to manipulate. They don't have the left-handed mounting position for the clip unless they make a left-handed version I don't know about. That kind of sucks, but it's easy to manipulate right or left-handed, and it has the front flipper. Just really, really good for $70. Nitro V, if I didn't say. I love this knife. It is so cool. Moving on here to one that has been dominating my pockets just because I like it a lot. I bought this knife. It was not sent to me. This is the Paragon. I'm sorry, we're going to move on to, this is number 3, the Paragon Para X. This knife recently, it's still got some pumpkin on it. This thing was really put through it, and I cleaned it off, and I'll admit, this area right here is a real gunk trap. Sorry, this is a USA-made single-action OTF. I've never EDC'd a single-action OTF up until now, and despite its many weird inconveniences, it's actually such a fun knife to carry. I don't carry this knife because I think it's an optimal tool. I carry it because I like it, because it's cool and it puts a smile on my face. We went to the pumpkin patch here recently, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to take this thing and I'm going to use it, because this is a knife that many would argue is very susceptible to debris, right? It's got a big open area right here. There's a big coil spring in there. It relies on the coil spring and this area being cleaned out in order to deploy. Let me tell you something, guys. I got this thing absolutely gunked up. Not on purpose. My family picked way too many pumpkins from this pumpkin patch. I mean, pulling those wagons around, God, that sucked. But cutting them loose from the vines, and I would slip, and the entire knife would go either into another pumpkin beside it or into the dirt. This blade was caked, and this was full of dirt and pumpkin stuff. And you know what? It kept firing the whole day. I mean, obviously, I would try and wipe it off and clean it, in the moment so that I wasn't intentionally jamming stuff in there. But it's fine. I still never actually blew this area out. I tried to keep as much out of it as possible. And I'll admit, the cutting geometry on this is not optimized for releasing pumpkins. But it worked, right? The lock was fine. It held up. I mean, this is so great. And every time, man, every time my kids would be like, Dad, we got one over here, I'd be like, I'm coming, it was fun. I can't stop putting this knife in my pocket. USA made knife, Paragon, $350, which is pricey, but man, I love this thing. I am so happy that I bought it, and I will continue to use it just for the cool factor, right? Moving on here to the real pocket dominators, and largely because they needed to be reviewed, and these are important ones for 2024, but also because I legitimately love carrying them. So at number 2, we have the new Winter Blade Co. Factor 8, or the XL Factor. What can I say? It's essentially everything that we wanted, right? It's the Factor, but it's bigger for people who wanted a bigger Factor. It also has the new quad magnet detent system, which is incredibly tunable. It is so cool. There are 4 magnets housed in here. We have 2 on this side and 2 on this side. The magnets can be removed one at a time to alter the detent strength, or they can be flipped over to alter the polarity of the magnet. So you can make the detent substantially stronger or substantially weaker, whatever you want to do. It's actually super easy to do. Couple that with the fact that we have the magnetic lock and that incredibly cool switch deployment thing. No, it doesn't have the tingy. Every now and then it's got a little bit of metallic sound in it. It doesn't have that magical ting of it doesn't have the same one this guy. Like it doesn't have that. And that is kind of a bummer. But I gotta say, everything else about this knife makes me not care about that. This is so cool. It's everything I love about the Factor. It's just bigger and more robust. And man, everything feels snappier. Everything feels better. I honestly left it at the standard detent setup because I just thought it was great. It is a big knife, and I am reminded of it every time I get it out. But I gotta say, it's really not, it's not something that I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to lug around this huge thing, right? These are going to be available on October 23rd. No, I don't make any money from that. I'm not getting paid to do that. I'm reviewing it. It's a Winter Blade Co. knife. This thing is, as I've compared it many times to, it's like when they release a new Elder Scrolls game, and the Elder Scrolls game changes the whole industry, right? A lot of times when Winter Blade releases a knife, like his systems are so cool and so attention grabbing and just so interesting that it changes everything. And they often end up being in my final top 10 list. So, I was sent this in order to do the review. But no, it's not like I think people always guess on like exactly how I make money. It's pretty simple, right? I have some affiliate links and I've got ad revenue and I've got Patreon, right? But the knives I recommend are not always knives that have paid links. Sometimes it ends up that way and sometimes it doesn't. So I can tell you that this knife, which is not one I'm being paid in any way, shape, or form to showcase outside of ad revenue, which is paid by Google and YouTube, this is an incredible product. It is an expensive product, right? This is not a typical sandwich construction titanium frame lock released by a Chinese company, right? It's got a lot more going for it, for sure. So it's an expensive product, but they do drop on October 23rd, and legitimately, this is something that a lot of people are not going to want to miss. And either way, whether I am talking about it or not, these are going to sell out, right? The Winter Blade Co. knives don't need my assistance with that. So if you're interested, I would recommend that you check out the website on October 23rd. And then moving on to the number one most carried knife here recently. It's another winter blade co knife, and I like it even more than the Factor 8. This is the Veyron, and this is actually manufactured. The last one was Bestech. This is manufactured by Kunwu, which is very, very cool. Now, this one doesn't have any magnets in it, unless I'm mistaken, right? But I've taken this thing apart, and it runs on it's a sliding lock that is incredibly strong. I think they call it a J lock. It's got some kind of spring back here that it's running on. I have the paperwork and everything, but this locking, so this is essentially a hard use winter blade co knife, and I haven't been like surviving in the wilderness with this thing, but I've definitely not been holding back. I've just been using it. And it is a crazy, wonky looking guy. But my God, is this thing fun to manipulate. It is very similar in terms of the feeling of manipulation to the Super Lock or the Shark Lock, right? But we also have the switches on the sides, and you do not have Omega springs. It also has 2 stops attached to the blade. So the combination of the J-lock and the additional stops means that the lockout is incredible. I mean, this thing is solid. It is so cool. It's arguably, in my opinion, the best priced of the 3 releases. I believe they'll have a G10 version for like $250, and then this full titanium version will be $330. On this pre-production version, I think it's 20 CV, which is an odd choice, but you'll also have the option of Vanax, which is very, very similar, not identical, but very similar to MagnaCut. It's not quite as tough. It's a little more stainless and has a little bit better potential for edge retention, not much. You can actually check out Laren Thomas's website where he compares them if you want more info, more context on that. But I would recommend Vanax with this guy just generally because it's going to be tougher than something like 20 CV. But in any case, this has been phenomenal. The other funny thing is that their 20 CV is hardened to 61 to 63. This thing has a crazy edge. I mean, it is razor sharp. Still, after, all the cutting, the cutting I've done, it wasn't necessarily like, super extensive, but the edge has not fatigued at all. I mean, it is still an absolute laser beam. It doesn't have much of a tip, and the edge is straight, but it really is incredible. I love the Veyron. I love this knife. And I know that not everybody's going to be able to afford a $330 knife, but if you can, it's a little bit heavy. It's a little bit wonky, right? The balance is definitely a little butt heavy, but this is a super cool and very functional hard use knife. I don't think that the locking system is going to be like as strong as the Triad lock, but it is definitely stronger than the vast majority of folding knife locking systems that we have, especially ones that are as easy to manipulate as this. I mean, it is amazing. Wish there was a little jimping up here, but that's okay. Again, October 23rd. That's going to be it today. So number 1, the Veyron. Number 2, the Factor 8 or the XL Factor. Number 3 is the Paragon Para X. Number 4 is the new Budget Militant, and number 5 is the new Django, which is really, really cool. I can't wait to carry this one more for sure because it's right up my alley. That's going to be it today, guys. I'll link everything down in the description. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex and on TikTok at _metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.